Hi, I'm Jed Hearn, author of Time Management for Architecture Students, and in this video I'll show you how to stop procrastinating as an architecture student. Let's go! So the way I see it, there are 6 key reasons why architecture students procrastinate. And these aren't all of the reasons why you procrastinate, but chances are this is 80%, 90% of them, whatever. So in this video we're going to look at those 6 key reasons, and most importantly, how to stop them. And in the notes below you can download a cheat sheet that summarizes these 6 reasons that we're going to cover in this video. I got you covered. So number 1, you don't know where to start. So one of the best things you can do for this is just rereading the brief, even if you've read it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 10 times, whatever, and rewrite it in your own words. Once you've rewritten your architecture brief, send your tutor your new rewritten brief, also known as a designer's brief, to see if you're on good track, and they can say, yeah, your interpretation is pretty correct, or, I'm not too sure about this, let me get back to you. You can also ask friends what they're doing. They won't always be on the right track, but by seeing what everyone else is doing, you can kind of gauge what's going on, right? Like there's that old saying, if you think one person is an asshole, then they're the asshole. If you think 10 people are assholes, then you're probably the asshole. So it's all about just seeing sort of what the majority is doing, and then not necessarily following that if you think it's incorrect, but it's probably a good indicator of what people should be doing. You can also trace a drawing you've done. Try just making it 10% better and just getting your hand moving. I found that as an architecture student, this really can inspire you because you can be like, oh, I don't want to trace over this wall because it's at a weird angle. I'm going to change it to this. And then before you know it, you're redoing the whole drawing and you've overcome that inertia and you're starting. I also find it really handy to take a break. Go for a walk without your phone, think it over, mull over the problem. And if it's still bothering you, and you still don't know where to start, switch to something else. Switch to another task. Let your subconscious work on your problem for you. And before finishing work for the day, sometimes it can be really handy to pick the task you're going to start the next day. Some people even go so far as to leave a drawing half completed or a model half made so that you can get right into working the next day and sort of trick yourself out of this difficulty of starting. So number two reason? That doesn't really make sense. The second reason why a lot of architecture students procrastinate is because you're scared by the blank page. So one of the easiest ways to overcome this is just simply, write a title down, put your name down and the date. And now that you've got something on the page, it'll be easier to start. And this is a good habit to get into anyway. You can also, like I mentioned before, trace an existing drawing using it as a starting point. And just, like I said, moving your hand, getting some ink on paper or pencil on paper or charcoal on paper or whatever medium you're using is going to help you. It's going to overcome that sluggish start. So the third reason why a lot of architecture students procrastinate is because you're afraid of failure. And I think this is particularly prevalent in architecture school because you're scared of what your friends might say about your design, or you're scared of what the tutor's going to say when they critique it. So here's the thing. Trying might mean you fail. That's inevitable. But not trying means you will definitely fail. The only way to not succeed is to not try. And here's the good news. You can destroy a drawing if it sucks. You can crumple it up, chuck it in the bin, you can tear it, you can eat it, actually eating it probably isn't a good idea, but you can really do it if you don't have a bin or tearing facilities. But basically, if you do something and you really don't want to show it to people, guess what? You don't have to. You can get rid of it. And a really useful tool to overcome the fear of failure is to rank how bad failure would be on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is it doesn't really matter, and 10 is the death of the universe. So what you'll probably see from that is that in your scenario, failing isn't that bad. Maybe it's a 2 or 3 at most. And the worst case scenario for a lot of people is just you repeat the unit that you've done. You repeat the architecture unit you just did. And in the scheme of things, this isn't that bad. And failure can actually be really beneficial. In my very first architecture assignment, my first year of university, I came close to failing. I got 52% in my first assignment, only 3% away from failing. And I could have looked at that and gone, oh boy, I'm really bad at this. I'm never going to be successful in architecture school or whatever. But really, it just motivated me. I didn't let failure define me. I used it to, galvanize me to improve myself. And I graduated with an average of 83%, which is 30% more than that first assignment. So use failure as a stepping stone to success. And one really useful reframe that you can use to do that is this. Don't think I win or I fail. Think I win or I learn. Don't think I win or I fail. Think I win or I learn. This is the essence of a growth mindset. And if there's one thing you take away from this video, it's this. Don't think in terms of winning or failing. Think in terms of winning or learning. Or perhaps both. So the fourth reason why architecture students procrastinate, like a lot of people, is too many distractions. Also known as when you cannot focus. So this is a big issue, I think, especially today. As a recent graduate, just having finished my Bachelor's of Architecture last year as I record this, I think one of the biggest problems facing us right now is the prevalence of social media and technology and phone and YouTube. I know you're probably watching this on YouTube, and it might be a bit hypocritical of me to say that, but it's worth noting that YouTube, for all the really great educational resources out there, not to pump up my own tires, there is a lot of stuff that's just designed to suck you in and waste as much time as possible. So you've got to combat that. You've got to combat these distractions and cut them down. So the easiest way to do this is to put your phone in airplane mode and have it hidden out of sight when you're working. And also have your internet off and your computer shut down unless you're using it. This is going to give you a quiet working environment. And having a quiet working environment is the key to focus. So as good as working in your architecture studio with all your buddies is, sometimes that's not a really good recipe for productivity. If you're in a room with 10 of your friends and you can talk as much as you like, chances are you're probably not going to get a huge amount of work done. Now, I'm not disparaging the studio. I think it is very useful, particularly for group assignments. It's great when you need a lot of space for model making, but it's worth noting that if you're doing quiet, focused activities, like writing an essay or, really doing intensive concept work, you probably want to be in a silent room at a library, quiet space at home, somewhere where you have control of the environment so you're not getting distracted. So the fifth reason, tried to say fourth, not good, and then I stuffed it up and I kept going, but let's move on. Fifth reason why a lot of architecture students procrastinate is when you're tempted by short-term fun stuff. So what's really important here, and this might be a little bit morbid when I say it, so I want to prepare you, but it's important to remember that you will die one day. I'm sorry, unless you manage to invent some kind of immortality technology, that'd be really cool. Leave a comment, that'd be awesome. And the fact that you are going to die one day and that you have limited time on this earth is actually kind of a good thing, because you can use your mortality as motivation. Or as I like to say, you can use this thing called deathbed 2020 vision. So in other words, if you were dying, would you want to be doing more pointless short-term activities like watching TV or Netflix or scrolling social media on your phone or wasting time on YouTube, nudge nudge? Or would you rather have spent your time doing more long-term meaningful things, like an amazing architecture project that's full of craft and beauty and something that goes in your portfolio and you look back on it in 20 years, 30 years, 50 years and you think, wow, I've really made some cool stuff. I've really done some awesome projects that have, satisfied me artistically and have benefited the world. Use Deathbed 2020 vision and work out, what is actually important to you, and that will help you overcome this, addiction to short-term fun things. And then reason number 6, the last main reason why architecture students procrastinate, certainly not exhaustive, there are many more reasons, is it seems too hard. Making your project seems too hard. Satisfying your tutor seems too hard. Fulfilling the brief seems too hard. So a really good approach to this one is just to break a complicated task that you're working on into small, manageable chunks. So don't get overwhelmed saying, oh boy, I've got to do this 10-week project. Just say, hey, I've just got to read the brief. Or, all right, I've just got to list 6 ideas down for the material here. And then you can start with the easiest task. And this overcomes that starting inertia and gets you going. It's really useful to consider this idea of asking yourself, what would this look like if it was easy? So whatever you're struggling with, what would it look like if it was easy? Maybe that means that if you're in a group assignment and you need to make a model and you're really bad with modeling, what would this look like if it was easy? Maybe one of your group members is excellent at modeling and they would love to do the group model in exchange for you doing the posters because you have better graphic skills or whatever. Another way to overcome this difficulty, this perceived difficulty of a task being too hard, is to use the just 5 minutes rule, which is where you set a timer for 5 minutes, sit down to do some work, and then once the timer goes off, after 5 minutes, you are 100% free to leave. But most of the time, you'll sort of have overcome the difficult part, which is starting, and you might do more work. But even if you don't do more work, you've at least done something. You've at least moved the project forward a little bit. So to summarize this video, here are the 6 key reasons why architecture students procrastinate. Number 1, you don't know where to start. Number 2, you're scared by the blank page. Number 3, afraid of failure. Number 4, too many distractions, aka you can't focus. Number 5, tempted by short-term fun stuff. And number 6, it just seems too hard. So I hope that's been really useful for you. And if you want to have a quick printable, downloadable summary of what I've talked about in this lesson, you can download my free cheat sheet, Kill Procrastination. Whack that procrastination on the head, cap it, get it out of your life. And basically this free cheat sheet, which you can download in the link below, summarizes this lesson into a printable 2-page document. And you can keep it on your desk or in the studio. And it's just a really great way to stay on top of procrastination so that procrastination doesn't get on top of you. And when you download it, you also get a free copy of my book, Time Management for Architecture Students. The link is in the description below, and all you've got to do is pop your email in and I will send it to you right away. Thanks for watching.